Okay, next let's talk about importing our CD from into iTunes. In this case, the first thing I want to do before I import anything into iTunes is to make sure what format I want my audio to be in. Now, determining what format you want your audio to be in might determine where you're going to be using it at. One of the downfalls of some of the formats is that they're compressed and the quality of the audio is not as good as the original that is on the CD. In this case, what is on the CD is at 44 kilohertz, 16-bit stereo. That's the format that is actually, and you should have read the handout on sample rate, bit rate, or bit depth, and stereo and mono. Stereo means it comes out of either left and right speakers, or mono comes out the same out of both speakers. In this case, at 1 minute of CD quality sound equals 10 megabytes. So as far as file size, takes up 10 megabytes on the disk for 1 minute. So therefore, a lot of the audio CDs are very limited. There's not as many tracks. Now this one has a lot of tracks on it because this is a royalty-free CD that I've downloaded from a company, or not really downloaded. I've purchased a group of CDs from a company called Music to Hughes, which is basically a royalty-free that CD track, and you'll notice that some are longer than others. Some are short, just 30 seconds. So that's why there's more than on a normal CD. On a normal CD, there's like 12 tracks maybe. And again, a normal audio CD can only have a few tracks because 10 megabytes equals 1 minute equals 10 megabytes. So to change the different audio formats and things like that, the different settings is when you're inside of the iTunes interface here and you look down in the lower right corner, you see there it says import settings. If you click on there, it's going to come up with different formats for you to import. Now right now it thinks you want to import using an MP3. The default usually is the AAC encoder. It's usually the default. Reason why is that's the one that works well with all the Apple products. Apple kind of invented AAC, which stands for Advanced Audio Codecs. Codecs is a word for compression. So AAC is Advanced Audio Codecs. AIFF is the general audio format, the one that we use primarily on Macintosh computers. It's usually the uncompressed, and this is the format that you would use if you want your audio to be the same as it was when it was on the disc. Again, the problem with the AAC, let's go back to that just for a moment, is that it's going to compress it, and you'll see that it will compress it to a certain format that you see down here. Okay, but AIFF is a good default one that'll keep the audio the same as it was on the disc. Apple lossless encoder, I don't know, that's pretty much the same. I never really use. Most likely, since it's lossless, means it's not going to reformat it to something else. That might be a good choice to use if you don't want it to be changed from the original format that's on the disc. Again, an MP3 is just like it says. It's the one that we've been using for 15 years now, which is basically an MPEG file that's in the third version of MPEG format, or what we call MP3. And in this case, again, it will be a compressed file. This is not the files will be different than what they were on the original CD. So just be aware of that. And then, of course, WAV is the same as the AIFF. It would be an uncompressed format so it keeps the audio the same as it was on the audio CD. I tend to use these formats unless I really need them in another format. Again, they'll take up a lot more space, but if I was going to use one of these sounds in one of my video presentations or some other project that I'm working on, at least it's going to give me the best quality that it was on the disc. Okay, so that's what I tend to use, either AIF, WAV. If I was going to put it onto my iPod, the AAC. If I was going to put it on my MP3 player, I might use an MP3 encoder. So these are all the different formats that you might use when you are using iTunes. So depending upon where you plan on using it is what you might choose. I'm going to use WAV since I'm on a Windows computer, and the error correction means if there's scratches and stuff. This disk is pretty clean, so I don't need that. I'm going to hit OK, Next thing I want to do is to import it into the computer. I can check the ones I want and uncheck the ones I don't want. So if you don't want a whole version of this, I might use the full version of Wild Horse. I don't know what these are. I'm going to uncheck some of them and say, well, I don't know what they are. Well, you can listen to them. If I click on it, you can listen to what it is. We got some southern rock here, or southern country music or something. Perfect for a movie. So let's hear this one. I think I'll keep that one. Let me uncheck that one. Let me just get a couple of them here so we can learn about what they are here. Chet asleep. In fact, I think this is the first time I've ever been using these CDs. So again, there's a little checkbox next to it. Let me uncheck some of these. Yeah, this is the first time I think I've ever heard these ones. I don't think I've ever put this disc into my computer before. Uncle Mo. Wow. Okay, let me just uncheck a bunch of them here. Wow, these are pretty good. Okay, so I have the ones that I want to use. I've checked the ones that I want. I've unchecked the ones I don't want, and then I'm going to say import CD. So it'll go through, and since I'm using the WAV format, it should be pretty fast, because what it's going to do is it's going to keep them in the same format as they were when they were on the disk. So this should only take a few seconds. As long as you have a fast computer, it shouldn't take very long. Now, in order to save them, it saves it into your default music folder. If you're using Windows XP like I'm using on this computer, there is a My Music folder inside of My Documents. If you're using a Mac, again, there should be a music folder, and it stores them in there. So let's look at where it goes. At least on a Windows computer, and I know my desktop's messy. If I go under My Documents here, you'll notice there is a folder, a variety of folders, and again, mine's under My Music. If I open that up, you'll notice I have my iTunes folder here, and under iTunes should be the iTunes Music. Inside the iTunes Music, you should have your different folders. So depending upon what disc you put in, if it's maybe a stolen disc, or somebody gave you, let's say somebody gave you an audio CD and it doesn't have the official information on the disc, it usually goes into something called an unknown artist or a compilation folder. If it's an official one, it would go and probably make its own folder and put it in there. So one of the things to keep in mind is depending upon where your CD is coming from. So I have a lot of, stolen music. You'll see it doesn't have any songs in it, whatever. I don't know where I got it. Compilation might be a group. You see, oh yeah, okay, these are actually original CDs. No, these are, somebody's made these. Oh, there's a Macarena. I think I downloaded that off the internet. So the Macarena mix I downloaded off of iTunes, and I think that's where that came from. I think so. And then you'll see there's some other ones. And then here's the ones we downloaded. I have several of these discs from Music to Hue, and you'll see there's the Southern one right here, as well as there's an orchestra one. Nothing's in there. Action Sports. Oh, there's some in there. Okay. So those are the different formats you can use to download your songs, making sure you check the ones that you want, and then download them. I don't know what this home sharing is. I guess home sharing helps you manage your family's iTunes collection by copying iTunes store purchases among computers on your home. I don't know about that one. The Genius makes playlists and mixing from songs in your library that goes great together. So this is a way of making a playlist, and I'm going to talk about how to make a playlist and then how to burn your own discs from inside here. I don't really use this much. I do make playlists over here. As you can see, I do have So my playlist on there, as you can see, I made my own compilation here, and I'll teach you how to make a compilation of all the different songs that you like, as well as maybe copy to your iPod and things like that. So let me take a break right now, and then we'll come back and I'll show you how to make a playlist and how to burn your own disc.